This is TABcast, brought to you by the Alternative Board,
helping business leaders improve their business for a better life.
So welcome to TABcast episode 5. Today we're talking about peer support and collaboration, specifically around businesses that aren't connected professionally, so non-competing sectors, peer board support, and community support in the community with businesses. So we've got 3 guests today. We're going to have some brief introductions. I'm going to start with Claire.
Hello there, Claire Flynn, Chief Operating Officer for Engage Health Systems. Been with Engage about 5 years now, and we provide software and hardware into the NHS.
Sylvie.
Hi, I'm Sylvie Giangolini. I'm the Managing Director of Hayco Machines. We are a direct subsidiary of a German manufacturer for indoor and outdoor cleaning equipment. I've been the MD now. I'm into my 9th year, but I've been with Hayco for just under 13 years.
I'm Claire Sutherly, Managing Director of We Are Wakefield, and I've been in the role for 3 years now. We're a collaborative community. We're a not-for-profit organisation, and we provide a toolkit for businesses to connect with education providers, charities, cultural organisations. It's a real eclectic mix of members, so we provide the facilities for those to connect on a monthly basis.
And the reason it's you 3 this month is you're all part of the same business leader peer board.
We are.
With the Alternative Board, or one half of the peer board. So I think we'll lead off by asking you why you joined a peer board, and what surprised you about it, what you get from it that you weren't expecting. And I'm going to pick Sylvie to start us off, who's been with us maybe just short of a year, I think, now.
Yeah, I think I joined in August. And it all happened really quite quickly because I'd met Claire and Helen at We Are Wakefield event. And you two were really complimentary about the support that the peer network had provided you. It coincided with me having probably one of the hardest professional times, and it kind of made sense to explore what peer support could do. And then we met, and I think you thought I would be a good fit for the ladies that were already on our team. And to be honest with you, I don't know why I didn't join earlier, really. It has honestly changed how I look at what I do, and any challenges that come up. I feel confident that I'm only a month away from the next meeting that we have, and whatever I've brought to the table, I've had some really great advice, different perspective, and it's brought balance to maybe situations that I thought maybe were, well, difficult to deal with, really.
Yeah. So to explain to viewers and listeners what a peer board is business leaders and owners that come together on a regular basis, the same people every month. Each of those members, or each of the people that has a seat on that board, brings a challenge, issue or topic from their own business, something they're struggling with or would like some input from others on. They share that topic, they get asked lots of questions, and then they get some really good advice from the other members on how to move forward with that. So that's how basically a peer board works. So Claire Flynn, you joined us about maybe 18 months ago, I think.
I think so now. I was just trying to think. Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? Surprisingly, I came to TAB through the owner of the business. I'm a true remote, pretty isolated, 200 miles from the office, so everything I do is remote in every sense, and I found myself, I guess, not leaning on the business, but probably getting a bit introvert and being on my own, I'm not trying to make the decisions myself and doing it all in isolation. So on the, I suppose, following a conversation with John, I reached out to Claire first, actually.
Yeah.
Did you know of any, schemes or groups, etc.? Obviously, introduction for Simon, and then again accepted onto the board, which was great. I'll be honest with you, I thought to start off with I was a bit unsure. We're not in the same industry, we don't cross the same lines. How will they know? Whatever. But I think, I can't emphasize enough the fact that regardless of the industry we're all in, we all have the same problem. It's the cash flow, it's the people, it's the same experience, isn't it? So lesson learned to me, and something I do sort of articulate when I'm speaking to other people about the tab and what it gives me. But I suppose it removes that isolation. I know that, again, like Sylvia, I know that I've got this strong team to come and run ideas through. You're not always looking for help. You just, sometimes for me, I'm looking for assurance or just direction. Or sometimes, if you're having a good month, you don't actually have anything to say, but it's good to listen and learn. And I think that's the way I use it. Yeah, so been a great tool for me so far.
Claire?
Well, I think I was one of the first out of the group to join, wasn't I?
You were the first out of that group.
Of that group, and I think it's been through a few changes in my time with Tab, and I think one of the important things to say is that it's having the right people around the table, isn't it? Because you need a sounding board. You need people who you click with, that you can build rapport and a relationship with. And I think the 6 of us coincidentally are all female.
Not by design.
Not by design at all, because I'm a big believer in having everybody around the table and it being as diverse as possible. But I think we're diverse in personality.
Yep.
We're diverse in experience, and we've built up a great relationship around that table that really supports us all. And it's like you said, Claire, sometimes it's not always about wanting a problem solving. Occasionally it really is, but it's about having a sounding board in a trusted environment where you're going to get honest, constructive feedback about something that you might have an idea, or you might have a challenge that you face with at that time. But having that trusted environment where you can pick other people's brains is just invaluable.
But I think by the nature of probably who we are as people, I think we've created that trust and that openness. And I think that's one of the things that when I came to my first session, I think I was second or third off, and just listening to how open and how supportive, it really resonated with me to a level that I didn't think I would feel initially, given where I was. But that space was so safe, and it felt so natural to be able to really share some, well, for me at the time, some really big concerns. The first time that in 30 years of being in business. And I think it was you ladies made it like that. I think, again, being on the right board with the right people. And that's down to you, Simon, really, knowing us all individually and kind of thinking, yes, you would fit, or no, that wouldn't necessarily fit.
Yeah.
And I don't think it makes even any difference that, in fact, I think it's better that we're not in the same space,
I
in the
agree,
same vertical,
100%,
because your balance and perspective comes from a different position.
I think it's historically when you've worked with boards or groups or teams, for me in the last 20 years, it's been healthcare, health tech.
Yeah.
So for me to come into a different area was quite alien. So big learning curve, I'm in my 50s, you learn something new every day is a school day, isn't it? But no, it's been very beneficial for me to get outside the box, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great to learn from each other as well, isn't it? That we're in completely different sectors, all of us. But yeah, you just get a different perspective on anything that you bring around that table, really. Yeah, fresh set of eyes. 6 times over. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me about, Claire, tell me about how it changed you as a person being part of that board from your previous, particularly your previous business story, and how you talk about Tab and how it supported you and how you wished you'd had it in a previous life.
Well, I kind of do and I don't. So my journey, I've not made any secret of it. We had a family business the business ran for 27 years. Really tough industry. It was the security industry. Really cutthroat, really difficult, really male dominated as well. So it was a tough industry to be a lonely female in, if you like. I really didn't know which way to turn. I mean, the business went into liquidation in 2019, and I always say it's the toughest thing I've ever been through. You go through all these emotions of embarrassment, shame, fear, everything, and it's a really tough time to go through. And looking back now, I was so isolated. I was so scared. Didn't know peer support existed. Didn't know it was something that you could get from anywhere. I never had anybody that I could confide in and support me, really. I was literally winging it for years, not knowing if I was doing anything the right way or the best way, and not knowing who to speak to about it, really. It was really, really lonely and really tough. So having that support there now is just a game changer. I don't feel alone. And I've got my little mini team at We Are Wakefield, and I've got a board at We Are Wakefield as well. And it's kind of a pre-board. So if you've got a problem or a challenge or an idea, you can almost prep to approach your real board through your tab board. And it's just a game changer for me. And having the one-to-one support with you as well, Simon, it's helped me personally, professionally, overcome barriers, challenges. I can't explain what a difference it makes having that available. I mean, I always say now, I wouldn't change a thing, and everything happens for a reason, and my pathways led me here, and I've never been happier. I love what I do. I love being part of this amazing community that's grown over the last 3 years. But I don't think I'd be doing it to the level I'm doing it without that support. So it's just amazing.
Yeah. So Claire, you talked about learning and development that you've got from a peer board. You touched on that. Do you want to explain a bit more about what that means?
Yeah, I suppose when you're siloed in an industry and you're connected to one topic, it's learning and growing from your peers. How have they achieved this? How have they approached a certain problem? It's just I'm a listener. I watch, I observe, I listen. And, while the other guys are, I'll go away in the car as soon as I get out of the meeting, and I'm trying to digest and, right, how could I put that in my day today? What could I do? Would it work for me? Because not everything does it?
No.
You might listen, you might sit in a meeting for 4 hours, and actually that 20-minute segment, that's the nugget that I'll take away. But I think for me personally, I suppose that's deliberate, because I can't digest that. There's 4 hours. I always try and get one takeaway and see if I can build that back into the business or into me personally. So my development is honing in on what's the actual bit that's going to work for me, and what I can take away, what I can influence, because I can't influence everybody else's issues, but I can take and try, do something with me.
Yeah, one of the things we've done a tab board when we're helping each other with our topics is we do a lot of thinking and ask a lot of questions. So do you think that skill set that you've developed at a tab board is something that you can take away and use in your own businesses when you're managing your people, when you're thinking strategically in your own business?
Yeah, I think from my point of view, I'm a little bit different to you. I think really fast. And I think the structure that you have, sometimes I find it quite frustrating, because when I'm on a roll of asking questions, and then I'm only allowed to ask 2, and then I have to decide which 2 are the ones that we want, and then someone else takes another question that you were going to ask. But that's taught me patience. That's also taught me that when I reflect in some of the meetings, because I do think so fast, I think sometimes it could be sometimes a bit intimidating when you've got someone that's bang, 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 bang. And the process that we have is much slower. It's a bit more strategic. You're also having to think on, Claire's just asked a really good question. Actually, I've got another thing that leads on to that. So that critical thinking, but in a structure, and for me, in a slower pace than I normally think, has probably been the biggest thing that I've learned.
I think spot on that, because whilst I suppose historically and 12 months ago I probably was too fast, and that was problematic for me because I probably made some mistakes along the way, thinking too fast and making decisions off the cuff. So I think the process of being not restrained, but being held, you've had your questions now, it's forced me to slow down and it's forced me to start digesting. So that's been a massive benefit for me, instead of allowing the brain just to explode like it normally does.
Yeah.
And I come out of it not knowing which way I'm going. So to deliberately slow things down has made me slow my thinking and not worry about things as much, because I'm not trying to solve all these issues floating about in my head. I'm taking one or two away with me. So that's, I suppose, looking at, I didn't think about it but that's probably development for me that I've taken away from this.
It's really interesting what you're saying there, because I hadn't thought of it like that, but now you mention it, absolutely. I think far too quickly and want everything done now. Like responses to emails, I'll respond straight away. I'll panic if I don't get back to someone straight away. People say, "Oh my goodness, you're so responsive," but I've learned that actually it's good sometimes to just sit on something, not be as as quick to get back on everything, and just realise that you can be a bit more strategic with everything you do and a bit more mindful and give something a little bit more thought before you react to a problem or a comment or a question or a situation. I think it does teach you that patience and just take a little step back on that and have a little think. And I think that's what we do as the challenge is going around the table, because obviously if you don't know how TAB works, you bring your challenge, you present that to the TAB board, then the members of the board get to ask you a couple of questions. It goes around the table until the questions are exhausted, and then we present advice to each other. One of the main things is keeping that zip on when you're getting your advice, isn't it?
Yeah.
But again, it's teaching you to sit and think and not be so reactive.
Yeah, because I think sometimes it's quite easy, especially when you're comfortable in your area and your role, to dismiss a potential opportunity to find a solution. Because again, maybe because the brain's working so fast, you think, yeah, that's not going to work. But actually, if you do wait and you listen to all of the advice, there is always something that you can do differently and implement that you maybe wouldn't have thought of if you hadn't sat and listened to everybody's.
Every time it's something, well, I would never have looked at it like that.
Yeah.
And it never fails to impress me, the advice that I get. It's just incredible.
But don't you always find, though, that when if you're the first one to ask the questions, comes out of mouth very quickly, but actually when you're last or third, you're more considered because your thought process is evolving and changing, because you see in a broader context based on the rest of the board adding their perspective, and it's like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. So what maybe would have been my question right at the beginning would never be the question at the end.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Because it's growing and evolving, isn't it?
I quite like not going first now.
I agree.
Oh, it's only frustrating though when someone else asks you a brilliant question that you've thought of, and it's like,
Yeah, but there's always another way of asking the same question, but with different wording.
Yeah, that's it. But it teaches you so many things that you don't realise until you sit down now and talk about it, because we don't do that. We attend TAB, we go through the process, and this is the first time we've actually analysed the process, I suppose, and talked about the process, isn't it?
So when you take those learnings and that development out into the business world, there are two things that strike me about TAB boards. Firstly, when people come in to a new board, it's an established board maybe, and they come in as a new member, that feeling of imposter syndrome. Because what you've got in a board is some really highly competent, highly functioning business leaders. But you also get that level of expertise coupled with some real humility.
Yeah.
There's no egos in the room. So when you go back out into the wider business world and you meet the characters that we meet in business, Has it changed the way you approach people and the way you deal with people that you come across when you're transactioning in business, whether that's your staff, your management, or suppliers or customers?
I think so. I think that I'm terrible with the imposter syndrome thing. I've discussed this a few times, and I kind of sit in our tab board sometimes, and I'm in awe of the stuff that's coming out around the table. And sometimes I do feel that imposter syndrome creeps in the tab board, but then as soon as you talk about that, everybody just brings you back down to earth and makes you think, well, actually, I'm holding my own in this room. And it does give you that confidence to take it out of your tab board. And we all come across people who you think are in positions of power or, have got these amazing roles. And it's quite easy to be intimidated by people sometimes, but it does give you that confidence. Well, actually, I'm holding my own around that table, and it transfers into the real world, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I think we all have an element of imposter syndrome.
Well, we're human,
and I
aren't
think
we?
anyone
Yeah.
that is a leader that doesn't admit to that is probably not a very honest leader. And I think when you couple, I know I'm really very self-critical, probably too self-critical. And so actually it could be quite refreshing to be in a situation where you share something and then, somebody might give you that, as you said, confidence to say, no, actually, you're fine with that. Or how many times have we sat and listened to somebody's topic and then as they're explaining it, they've said, I think I've created a problem that actually isn't even there. And even just explaining it and saying it out loud sometimes makes you think, why have I even brought this topic? It's almost like it's not worthy to be a topic.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes, I think it was the last meeting, I didn't feel that I had anything that really was that pressing. So like you, I enjoyed more listening to everybody else's and being able to be part of that solution finding. But I think also, I mean, I've always worked in very male-dominated environments.
Yeah.
Being the first female MD in our group, I remember the first time I walked into our international board meeting, and it was incredibly intimidating, even though I'm quite a confident, outgoing person. So I try and really put that imposter thing to bed, because I think for me it can be quite destructive.
Yeah.
I think it's all about allowing yourself to be vulnerable, and because I think that's really, really important, and that's something I really champion at work. Whether it's in one-to-ones or in groups, with the team at work, it's like yourself, be vulnerable, say a stupid thing.
Yeah.
I don't care. Just give me your passion, talk your energy, talk about what's on your mind. What are your ideas? It doesn't matter if it's around the table. Professionally, it's probably not the right way to go. But you just, be vulnerable, and that's important. And that's why the group for me allows me to, because I do it all the time. Don't silly thing that nothing to say today, etc. But I think vulnerability, allow yourself to be humble, vulnerable, and accept. And it's never criticism, but accept that feedback. Do with it as you wish, there's no doubt about that, but just accept it.
Yeah, I take this into the masses as well. So the Mission Possible thing we do at We Are Wakefield, it's all about sharing your challenges, not being scared to, admit that you might have got things wrong or that you're worried about something or ask for advice from people. And that's really come from being part of TAB. It's something that I've taken forward and hope I can support our members with. So every month it's about encouraging conversations to support each other, share best practice, share knowledge, share your fears, celebrate your successes, which is equally as important, isn't it? But it's all about making sure people are coming together and supporting each other and not being isolated and lonely and worried. And I think that's what I've taken from it. I'm passing it on, if you like, on a bigger scale.
Yeah. So Sylvie is a TAB member and a member, your business being a member of We Are Wakefield, which is a very community collaborative network. How have you found things stepping into both of those two arenas when you're part of a larger group? You're a satellite part of a larger group. How's been involved in the Wakefield business community, either through TAB or through We Are Wakefield, helped you?
I think, look, whilst I'm part of a large group, actually, because we're all individually country managers, it's pretty much my business.
Yeah.
I have to make those decisions. The buck stops with me. So having that ability to share and learn, whether it's in TAB or even through We Are Wakefield, the benefit that I've had through We Are Wakefield and has really resonated throughout the business is the collaborations that we have now started with other We Are Wakefield members has massively helped the business. The cost savings that we've had from changing some of the supply chain and doing business with like-minded people in our community, pulling together and sharing a common goal, whether it's to support a charity activity or one of the charity partners. And even, I tell you what I've really enjoyed recently with We Are Wakefield, welcoming the new members.
Yeah.
And having that, you can always spot them, can't you? Because they kind of stand there and you think,
Look
it's
a
a
little bit
overwhelming,
nervous.
isn't it?
It
With the
is.
number of members
Yeah.
that we have.
Yeah.
And, I think if you go into that networking, you're either a networker or you're not a natural networker. But when you've got some of the businesses that we've got, even some of the new startup businesses that we've got, and again, being lonely and isolated, and I think that really played a lot more after COVID, with so many companies still not bringing all of their staff back in. When you are on your own and then you walk into something like We Are Wakefield, it is overwhelming. And I've really enjoyed going up to these new members and welcoming them. And, even yesterday at the expo, it was great. There were a number of people saying, "Oh, did you know somebody that does so and so?" Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Around the
they're
corner
over
over there,
there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I've taken. The if I can in some way impart some of the learnings that I've had and share some of the stuff that I've picked up along the way, either through TAB or We Are Wakefield, I think that's what I.
Yeah. So Claire, what would you say to someone? You talked earlier on about isolation, working remotely for a business in the east of England. What would you say to business owners that are in a local area, in a community, that aren't engaged, that are running the business in isolation from the rest of the business community? What would you say to encourage them to come out of the shells a little bit and get more involved in peer support and in collaboration?
What would I say? It's difficult because you don't know until something happens. You don't know until something knocks you for six, and you don't know. You think you've been coping. You think you're great. You're lucky you're working from home, but actually you're sat in the office from 7 in the morning till 8 at night. You don't see your family because you think, I'm at home, I've got to work. And I think it took its toll on me. I think being so separate from the business, although I travel down obviously as much as I can, but something I'm going to discuss on here, but something hit me quite hard and made me real, and I think the imposter syndrome kicked in. Then the oh God, what am I going to do moment kicked in. Then so I'd say to people who were don't be in isolation. Just get yourself out there, get a community. I mean, I'm going off a tangent a bit. Yesterday and today, I've been out of the office twice in a week. I haven't done that for years. And it was actually the TAB board that said to me a little while ago, you've got to make time for yourself. But the guilt of not being there, they thinking the team needs. I mean, they're gonna, they can cope perfectly well. Come on, it's me, isn't it, who needs them? I guess so. Yeah. So I wouldn't have done this 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Taking this time out today. Taking time out yesterday. So yeah, the advice I would say is don't leave it too late until something will happen, something will tip you over. But looking, if I've managed to get a network and a team that that's strong, we don't just shut the door on the board meeting and we'll walk away. We've got that network afterwards. I
Yeah,
know
we
if
do.
I had a problem, I could
Yeah.
ring you guys. We
Yeah.
have our
Got a
group
WhatsApp
chat,
group,
don't we?
yeah.
WhatsApp. Yeah, we're obviously no military secrets going out there, but it's all very professional. But we have that fun and that engagement. So it's don't leave it too late. That's all I say.
I also think it makes you a better leader. Because I think it's quite easy. Look, it's really lonely being a leader, isn't it?
Yeah.
You
Yes.
can over catastrophize. You can overthink things. You can become really quite insular. And I think I'm a better coach and mentor and a guidance conduit through getting out of the office, meeting other people, meeting real people, meeting people that have got really big business challenges as opposed to the ones that I think are a big business challenge for me. So I think that perspective that you get, meeting other people, and even being able to come back and say, actually, that is a problem from everyone. And I think one of the key things that we've all had is people. How do you support our team? How do you make sure that you look after them, that you develop them to a point that they don't want to leave you? And that's been a reoccurring theme. And I think if we can all pick something up from that, that is surely going to make our businesses better.
Yeah. So going back to that first board meeting that you attended, there was a little bit of a eureka moment for you there. I think we'd gone through 2 or 3 topics, and you sat there and I can't believe that everyone else is going through the same sort of things that I'm going through.
Yeah, because I'd become so overwhelmed with my own problem, had made it so much about me, so much about it's only me that goes through this. It can only be me that's dealing with this, but it isn't. It really isn't. And only by being open and honest and sharing it, that I think there was a couple of other people, yourself as well, that had said, "That's happened to me.
Yeah.
It's normal. It's fine. It's not pleasant, but it's normal. And this is how we're going to get over it, because everything is temporary.
Yeah.
It's not about living in now. It's about looking outside of that. And I think that you only do that when you're honest and vulnerable. And then you have that ability to think, actually, you know what? There's a different way of looking at this. And maybe I'm not looking at this in the right way.
But you need that reminder, don't you? I mean, I know at our last meeting, one of the takeaways was it will pass. Whatever you're going through, you kind of need that reassurance to almost file it away, because you can get all consumed with problems, can't you?
That's
Problem shared is problem halved.
It is. I think that's probably one of the reasons that I joined it. Thankfully, I did, because I think the burden of responsibility becomes so heavy.
It does.
And I didn't know I could share. I didn't know, I'd speak to, my directors and, but I felt it was my fault things weren't going right, that I must have been doing something wrong because I'm the COO, so it must be my fault. So I think it's that sharing the burden, isn't it? And it's not my fault, I'm where the buck stops, I guess, but being able to have that rant and articulate, vent, whatever you want to say, to a wider board really helps you understand that it's not, is it? It's not. We're all going through it. It's just the experience we're all sharing.
Yeah.
And I
They're
think
just
that's key.
the issues that we all face as business leaders, isn't it? Just being able to support each other through it and hold each other's hands sometimes. I mean, we've all shed tears of joy and of, where we've been really upset over things, but you walk out of there feeling as if that weight's being lifted off your shoulders and you've got a plan to move forward and away from it. And because you can get bogged down, like you said, you feel like you're sort of swimming in treacle sometimes, don't you? And there's no way out. But to just share that problem and get that clarity on it, it's just
a bit like therapy.
I'd say it is therapy.
I mean, not that I've ever had therapy, but that's what I would imagine therapy is.
Yeah. I feel sorry for Simon
biscuits and
sometimes.
cake.
Yeah.
I think as well, our businesses are an ever-moving beast, aren't they? So I remember, Claire, you bringing 1 month, said everything's fantastic. Everything's working really, really well. And then the next month, you're on the floor.
Yeah, the day after I was on the floor. And that is how, because I love it when things go well and the buzz and,
Yeah.
you know, because when it goes well for the business, it's not, you're thinking, yeah, okay, it's great. But what I see from the team, the hard work, and I think, so I love it when it's working well because the team are on form and they're passionate, as always passionate, but they're so excited. But that little kick can just deflate everybody. And I came in that I remember I've got nothing to talk about. Yeah, it's been a fantastic month. Everything's going, and it was the day after just something simple, all that happiness and joy and it just went, honestly. Yeah, but that's how quickly. But it is at this business, isn't it?
Roller coaster,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah,
it
it
is. Yeah.
Yeah. So thinking about We Are Wakefield now, just explain to the listeners and the audience what We Are Wakefield does, and again, pitching to those people that are working their businesses in isolation, i.e. they don't talk to the wider community, they're very insular. What would you say to them to encourage them to get involved in something like We Are Wakefield, a wider business community?
It's worth its weight in gold. It really is. I mean, I run We Are Wakefield. As
Explain what it is.
Okay, so in a nutshell,
Yeah.
it's we're a not-for-profit organisation, a subscription service, I suppose, so a membership organisation. You commit to a 12-month membership, and that enables you to be part of a community of over 200 very diverse organisations, from your new start sole trader right through to your global entities like Hayco and everything in between. Like I said, charities, education providers, such a diverse set of people in that room. So we meet up on the first Friday of every month. That's where the big networking event happens that we've been talking about. In between that, we share information, good offers, news stories within the newsletter. We have a LinkedIn members group where people can communicate with each other directly. It's a real community. We obviously ran the first Wakefield Expo this year as well. We've got a conference coming up. We deliver the Wakefield Business Awards. So for me, it's a suite of business support that ticks every box. We've got the networking with the First Fridays. We've got the marketplace with the Expo where you can come and sell your wares. We've got the conference, which is going to be a day of learning and knowledge share. And then the Business Awards where we all get a little bit drunk and celebrate success at the end of the year. So for me, we're ticking every box now with that suite of products that we offer members and beyond, because some of the things we do is all about broadening that network further and inviting people who aren't in the membership, like the Expo, the conference, the Business Awards. Anyone can get involved in those, and all the time we're broadening everybody's network.
Yeah. So thinking about benefits, so I'm the business owner of a company. I sit in my office all day. The only people I deal with are my stakeholders, suppliers, maybe some customers. I don't get involved in the wider business community. I don't even know the other businesses on my business trading place. What would you say to them to get out of the offices and get into We Are Wakefield?
Yeah, I've been there because you're existing in a hole, in a ditch, really. You know, you've got a very blinkered approach on everything. You're not getting that breadth of knowledge and experience and advice, and you're not being able to offload. So I can't imagine being back in that place, actually. So I've said before I run it how I would have liked to have had it for me back in those days. Yeah. Where I just have people to share everything.
There's that element of inward investment as well, because what happens is those businesses start to do business with each other and support each other.
Yeah. I mean, that it's not a hard sell environment. You're not going to walk in and be bombarded by business cards by men in grey suits. That's not the kind of network we are. It's very relaxed, it's very informal, and it's all about having conversations. But it's that like, no trust thing, isn't it? You know, once you've had these conversations, you learn about other people, they learn about you. You're then at the forefront of their mind if they ever need what you offer, or someone else they speak to at another event the following day or the following week or in 6 months' time. You know, they're going to come back to you because you've built that relationship of trust. It's Tab on a bigger scale. You've got your trusted people who you'll go back to time and time again, and who you'll refer to, and who you refer
Like a
other people
live
to.
little black book, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah, what a great way of describing it, Claire. I'll use that. Thank you. Yeah.
And Sylvia, you've been a member of We Are Wakefield now for maybe a year, is it?
No, less than
Less
that.
than a
Probably
year.
the summer again.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
August, I think,
Yeah,
your
it was.
first event.
Yeah, I think at Nostell.
Yes, at Nostell.
Yeah.
And what brought you along?
Look, I've always felt very passionate about the environment that we are part of. I think that we have a duty of care to contribute positively to the community that we as a business are part of. All my staff have 2 days paid for volunteering. And it really started with kind of understanding what can we get involved in at Wakefield. And I'd met Helen. Who
from Solly
was, who's also on the board.
Yes.
And I'd met her at a sustainability networking advice group that it was organised by Wicker. And I went along to that just because I thought, you know, whilst we are quite well developed on our green journey, am I missing something? Is there something else that I should be looking at? Again, trying to come out of looking at what we do and seeing whether there's other things that I can learn. And when I then went to that first meeting, it's like a little light bulb being switched on, and it was, oh my God, there's the amount of diverse talent, the amount of amazing people that I've met through We Are Wakefield is really quite inspiring. And my head office is in another part of the UK. And I've said to my team, you know, you need to get out there. There must be a We Are Wakefield. And there is nothing like We Are Wakefield. No. So much so that when I talk about We Are Wakefield in other parts of the country, I have other people saying, can I join We Are Wakefield? Well, no, not really. Unless you want to move your business to Wakefield. And I think there's a lot that's being missed out in the UK at the minute. I think we talked before about the lack of support generally for SMEs, whether it's finding funding grants, learning opportunities, support opportunities. And I think that what you've created, Claire, is unique. It's powerful. It's so positive. And I think if anybody in Wakefield isn't a member of We Are Wakefield, they need to be registering, because you are really missing out on so much.
Yeah, just that support network, if nothing else. And I mean, it's like you say about Heiko aren't going to walk into that room and necessarily make a lot of sales.
Nope.
But what you're looking at is opening up your supply chain locally.
Yep.
Supporting other smaller businesses, perhaps, becoming more sustainable, saving money. You know, it's all there in that room, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's in turn lifting another business in turn to grow and thrive. And that's what it's all about. It's about supporting each other, being part of a community where we're all brothers in arms, and we're supporting each other and lift as we climb.
Yeah, and I kind of feel, I think we've lost that in society nowadays.
Yeah.
I think we're so, again, insular. You're on your phone, you're on the internet. And the world outside is so much brighter. It's so much more positive than looking at your phone or Googling for, I need to find a XYZ supplier. And having the ability to talk to people, I think it's a skill that, quite frankly, more young people, people
we're
need to
losing
be
the skill
picking
of
that
building
up.
relationships, aren't we?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm kind of old school. I can remember being in sales, 30, 40 years ago. You're in your car, you were knocking on doors. That's gone. That ability to form relationships, in the good old days, there was a bit of a cliche saying, people buy from people. That is so true.
It is.
I want to do business with people that I like, that I trust. If you have that supply chain that's local. I was talking to our IT provider yesterday and I said, I know you're going to do a great job because you're going to see me every first Friday.
Yeah.
You're not going to not deliver on what you've sold me.
Yeah, there's no escape.
And it's great to have that feeling of, I've spoken to you, you've done something for me. He passed on a lead. And I really think society is missing that ability to talk.
Yeah,
that
I mean, you can
interpersonal
Google
relationship.
suppliers. You can, all day you can go online and find people who will provide you with services or products. But there's no relationship there at all, is there? I mean, how great is it to see the impact you're having on another business? I've had businesses come up to me and say, if it wasn't for We Are Wakefield, I don't think we'd be here now. That, me of all people who've been through that process of losing everything. I get a bit emotional thinking about it, but I'm passionate about supporting people to succeed. Yeah. And the Heikos and the Sylvies of the world are coming in and supporting that. You're supporting the small businesses locally who just need that leg up sometimes. Yeah. And it can make a difference between someone, being a success in the business and their confidence growing and them feeling much better. These people are trying the hardest, working on the businesses. They've got an idea, they've got a talent, they've got something that they can provide to others. And the hardest thing there is getting people to realise that and accept that and buy it from them. We're all in, it's a competitive world out there. If we can't support people locally, then, what can we do? It's all about supporting people to survive.
So you mentioned earlier on, Claire, about more to do with your TAB experience, about how you were surprised that businesses that weren't in your sector could offer you help and advice. So explain a bit more about that and what that means.
It's a bit of snobbery, a bit of arrogance, if I'm being totally honest with you. Totally put my hands up and, it's the not being aware. I think I've worked in the same industry for such a long time. In a straight row, probably 15, 18 years in health tech, and I suppose it being. What would Helen know about? She runs a factory. What would Claire know? I didn't know what you did. There's no appreciation. I guess what I'm trying to say, not very well, is that I've been in my bubble for too long, and no bubble in the house, in the office, not networking, not meeting. Networking on LinkedIn, but with the same cohort of people. So getting out there and really understanding and sort of dismissing that idea that these talented group of people that I meet monthly and speak with regularly are really supporting me in ways that I didn't know were possible, because that perception is gone, and I think that's something I try to pass on to other people now. The team at work, expand your horizons, speak to other people. So I suppose that's it in a nutshell. It was a bit of air of arrogance and complacency, I'll be honest with you.
So if you think about that opportunity as well, so whilst it's a very different sector to the other people on your board, you can bring that expertise and experience from those people and bring it into your sector. So if your sectors are very insular, and I worked in the timber industry for years, and I didn't know anybody apart from our customers that were using timber who operated outside of the timber industry. It was so insular. But when I stepped away from that into the TAB arena and then into We Are Wakefield, I started to see that there are practices and ideas and innovations that I could take out of other industries and bring into my own.
I agree, and I think somewhere else I'm seeing that, Sam. I was looking at my LinkedIn the other day, quite a lot on there, because I've done a lot of outreach. People have come to me as well. But it's industry specific, so it's like that, you tell your kids not to read too much of the, you get them, brainwashed by. My feed is just full of the same stuff all the time. I'm not widening my horizons enough, and I've slipped into that, not really realising. So, I do follow you guys, different industries, and I think that's important, because you start out there, don't you? Then you're following your target, and that becomes your all absorb. That's your life. That's all you. You log on, you have a look, and that's in your feed. So how nice to, read the feed this morning about the event yesterday.
Yeah, the expo. It's got some great
it's great
feedback.
to read different stuff and look at, what else there is out there.
But I love that you'll ask a question at Tab. So I'll bring a problem, for example, or a challenge. And your questions, you need to ask questions then to understand what I do.
Yes.
Because, and vice versa, I'll have to ask some what you might think are really basic questions, but just so I can understand what you do a little bit more. I think that helps us strip everything right back, because you stop thinking about the basics and the stuff that we find obvious, and you stop questioning how you do things. But when you get asked these questions where you have to really simplify everything you're doing to try and explain it to someone else, it gives you a fresh perspective on everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, whenever I meet one of our new members of staff, because we always have a comprehensive program, so I always have an hour with all our new staff, and I always say to them, I love new members of staff because you're like not brainwashed,
like a blank canvas.
Yes, and you get to ask questions, and you might look at something and think, why do you do it like that?
Yeah.
That's really clunky or not very efficient. So I always say to the new starters, ask any question you like.
Yeah.
Challenge anything. And
No
if you've got
question's a silly
if you've
question.
got a great idea, can you please share it? Because we are not perfect.
Yeah.
And I think you just get into that day-to-day cycle of that's how we've always done it.
Yeah.
Let's not change it. Oh, change is a bit frightening. But actually, being challenged at Tab or going to a network meeting where you don't know anyone and it's that, okay, let's go for this, is the bit. It brings back that adrenaline, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, from a marketing perspective for businesses, if you think about I always pride myself on getting to know all my members, what they do, what makes them tick, how they work, because I can't support them otherwise.
Yeah.
But I always say, so what do you do? Like we do at Tab, what do you do? And I'm a big believer of everything should say what it does on the tin. But one of the most common things you get with other people is they are so bogged down in what they do and they know what they do so well, they find it really difficult to articulate that to other people.
Yeah.
And I think networking, being part of a peer board where you have to share constantly and stripping everything back to basics, it will help you really promote what you do and market your business again from scratch. Because you're having to really explain what you do. If you're never doing that, if you're not sharing what you do with other people, how do you expect people to use your services or buy your products when it's such good practice, isn't it?
Yeah.
To share what you do to other people.
Yeah. So the message, I think, is if you're sat in your office with your head down, 9 to 5, the only time you see the fresh air is when you go out to your car park to go in your car, is get yourself out there, learn, collaborate, share with the wider business community. I think that's the message that's come out today.
Put yourself out your comfort zone.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think that's a wrap. I think maybe one last question. I would say, what's the one thing you can think of, the big thing, the light bulb moment that you've had from Tab? I'll give you a second to think about that, and then I'll put somebody on the spot. I'm going to start with you, Claire.
Oh, thank you. Goodness me, I've not even had a second. It's all goes back to the share thing, doesn't it? It all goes back to a problem shared is a problem halved, and taking that weight off your shoulders by talking things through, starting from the beginning with a problem, and listening to a different perspective on it. That's got to be it for me.
I don't know whether I can add any more to that, really. I mean, I think the only thing that I would say on top of that is that you can build some really strong personal friendships.
Oh, yeah.
I think we are. I mean, you on the article that we had on International Women's Day, I think you described us as a tribe. And I do really feel that we've got each other's backs.
Oh, yeah.
Even though we're in different sectors, it's about that support. And I think professional friendships is really important as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think coming away with confidence. I think I had a lot of self-doubt. And I think, have that confidence in myself. And I feel empowered by the TAB board. I just feel empowered. They give me that strength when I walk away that I'm doing okay. Because it is hard out there, isn't it? I'm doing okay. I'm, nothing, nothing to be too concerned about. But no, empowerment, I think, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
having me back. That's the one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks, ladies. Some great conversation there.
Thank you.
I think that's a wrap.
Thank you.